Hey there, my little bookworms. It's dear time. Drop everything and read. I'm just reading from Wonder. Would you like to join me? We've been reading about Jack's part of the story and some of the challenges that he faced in becoming a friend to August. Last we left off, he was sharing Mrs. Brown's December precept, which was fortune favors the bold. And she asked the students to write a paragraph about some time in their life when they did something very brave and how, because of it, something good happened to them. And the thing that Jack noted was that August probably had a lot of things to choose from because he recognized that August had a lot of opportunities to be bold in his life because of the challenges he faced. So I liked that Jack could connect to that and recognize that August didn't have it easy. There were challenges that he had to face, and there were obstacles that he had to get past. Just to be able to go to school and to feel like a normal kid, he had to face a lot more challenges than Jack would ever have to face. And I like that he recognized that. Our reading today starts with the title Private School. My parents are not rich. I say this because sometimes people think that everyone who goes to private school is rich. But that isn't true with us. Dad's a teacher and Mom's a social worker, which means they don't have those kinds of jobs where people make gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Beecher Prep. We don't live in a big townhouse or in one of those doorman buildings along the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk-up we rent from an old lady named Doña Petra, all the way on the other side of Broadway. That's code for the section of North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a room. I overhear my parents talk about things like, can we do without an air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I can work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, was like, I hate that I have to go back to Paris this Christmas. It's so boring. Dude, but it's like Paris, I said. Believe me, it's so boring, he said. My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny, tiny, tiny village. I swear nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh wow, there's a fly on the wall. Or look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee! I laughed. Sometimes Julian could be very funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing a big party this year instead of going to Paris, I hope so. What are you doing over break? Said Julian. Just hanging out, I said. You're so lucky, he said. I hope it snows again, I answered. I got this new sled that's so amazing. I was about to tell them about lightning, but Miles started talking first. I got a new sled too, he said. My dad got it from Hammaker Schlemmer. It's so state-of-the-art. How could a sled be state-of-the-art? Said Julian. It was like $800 or something. Whoa. We should all go sledding and have a race down that hill over there, I said. That hill is so lame, answered Julian. Are you kidding? I said. Julian narrowed his eyes and looked at me like I was not understanding what he was saying. That hill should be called Garbage Hill now. It's so junky. Last time I was there it was so gross, like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff. He shook his head. I left my old sled there, said Miles. It was a piece of junk, and somebody took it, too. Where'd you leave it? I said. Oh, by the big rock at the bottom of the hill. And I went back the next day, and it was gone. I couldn't believe somebody actually took it. Here's what we can do, said Julian. Next time it snows, my dad could drive us all up to the golf course in Winchester. That makes that hill look like nothing. Hey, Jack, where are you going? I started to walk away. I've got to get a book out of my locker. I lied. I just wanted to get away from them fast. I didn't want anyone to know that I was the one who had taken the sled. In science. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but I honestly can't say that I do. I like some parts of school, like PE and computer class and lunch and recess, but all in all, I'd be fine without school. And the thing that I hate most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill their heads with all this stuff we'll probably never need to know, like how to figure out the surface area of a cube, or what's the difference between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I never ever heard my parents say the word kinetic in my entire life. I dislike science the most out of all of my classes. We get so much work it's not even funny. And the teacher, Ms. Rubin, is so strict about everything, even the way we write our headings on the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date on top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his notes. August has the neatest handwriting of anybody I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down perfectly with really small, round, loopy letters. But now that we're ex-friends, it's bad because I can't ask him to let me see his notes anymore. So I was kind of scrambling today trying to take notes about what Ms. Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. When all of a sudden she started talking about the 5th grade science fair project, how we all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished the Egypt project. Now we have to start a whole new thing? And then in my head I was going, oh no. Like the kid in Home Alone with his mouth hanging open and his hands on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those pictures of the melting face I've seen somewhere where the mouths are open wide and they're screaming. And then all of a sudden this picture flew into my head, this memory, and I knew what Summer had meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came to me in this flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up in the bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man, it was August. All of this hit me in science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man, I'd been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. Oh, I was so mean. I don't even know why. I'm not even sure what I said, but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just that I knew Julian and everybody thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time, and I felt silly. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I was just going along. Oh man. He was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I would never have said that stuff in front of Boba Fett, but that was him, the bleeding scream sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask, the mouth open wide, like he was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke. I didn't hear a word of what Ms. Rubin was saying after that. Blah, blah, blah. Science fair project. Blah, blah, blah. Partners. Blah, blah. It was like the way grown-ups talk in Charlie Brown movies, like someone was talking underwater. Mwah, 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 mwah. Then all of a sudden, Miss Rubin started pointing to kids around the class. Reed and Tristan, Maya and Max, Charlotte and Chimena, August and Jack. She pointed to us when she said this. Miles and Amos, Julian and Henry, Savannah and... I didn't hear the rest. Huh? I said. The bell rang. So don't forget to get together with your partners to choose a project from the list, guys, said Ms. Rubin as everyone started taking off. I looked up at August, but he had already put his backpack on and was practically out the door. I must have had a stupid look on my face because Julian came over and said, "Looks like you and your best bud are partners." He was smirking when he said this. I disliked him so much right then. "Hello, Earth to Jack Will," he said when I didn't answer him. "Be quiet, Julian." I was putting my loose-leaf binder away in my backpack and just wanted him away from me. "You must be so bummed you get stuck with him," he said. "You should tell Miss Rubin you want to switch partners. I bet she'd let you." "No, she wouldn't," I said. "Ask her." "No, I don't want to." "Miss Rubin," Julian said, turning around and raising his hand at the same time. Miss Rubin was erasing the chalkboard at the front of the room. She turned when she heard her name. "No, Julian!" I whisper-screamed. "What is it, boys?" she said impatiently. "Could we switch partners if we wanted to?" said Julian, looking very innocent. "Me and Jack had this science fair project idea we want to work on together." "Well, I guess we could arrange that," she started to say. "No, it's okay, Ms. Rubin," I said quickly, heading out the door. "Bye!" Julian ran after me. "Why'd you do that?" he said, catching up to me at the stairs. "We could have been partners. You don't have to be friends with that freak if you don't want to be, you know." And that's when I punched him. Right in the mouth. The next one's called detention. Some things you just can't explain. You don't even try. You don't even know where to start. All your sentences would jumble up like a giant knot if you opened your mouth. Any words you used would come out wrong. Jack, this is very, very serious, Mr. Tushman was saying. I was in his office, sitting on a chair across from his desk and looking up at this picture of a pumpkin on the wall behind him. Kids get kicked out of school for this kind of thing, Jack. I know you're a good kid, and I don't want that to happen, but you have to explain yourself. This is so not like you, Jack, said Mom. She had come from work as soon as they had called her. I could tell she was going back and forth between being really mad and really surprised. I thought you and Julian were friends, said Mr. Tushman. We're not friends, I said. My arms were crossed in front of me. But to punch someone in the mouth, Jack, said Mom, raising her voice. I mean, what were you thinking? She looked at Mr. Tushman. Honestly, he's never hit anyone before. He's just not like that. Julian's mouth was bleeding, Jack, said Mr. Tushman. You knocked out a tooth. Did you know that? It was just a baby tooth, I said. Jack, said Mom, shaking her head. Well, that's what Nurse Molly said. You're missing the point, Mom yelled. I just want to know why, said Mr. Tushman, raising his shoulders. It'll just make everything worse, I sighed. Just tell me, Jack. I shrugged, but I didn't say anything. I just couldn't. If I told him that Julian had called August a freak, then he'd go talk to Julian about it, and then Julian would tell him how I had badmouthed August too, and everybody would find out about it. Jack, said Mom. I started to cry. I'm sorry. Mr. Tushman raised his eyebrows and nodded, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he kind of blew into his hands like you do when you're cold. Jack, he said, I don't really know what to say here. I mean, you punched a kid. We have rules about that kind of thing, you know? Automatic expulsion. And you're not even trying to explain yourself. I was crying a lot by now, and the second Mom put her arms around me, I started to bawl. Let's, said Mr. Tushman, taking his glasses off to clean them. Let's do this, Jack. We're out for winter break as of next week anyway. How about you stay home for the rest of this week, and then after winter break you'll come back, and everything will be fresh and brand new. Clean slate, so to speak. Am I being suspended? I sniffled. Well, he said, shrugging, technically yes, but it's only for a couple of days. And I'll tell you what, while you're at home, you take the time to think about what's happened. And if you want to write me a letter explaining what happened, and a letter to Julian apologizing, then we won't even put any of this in your permanent record, okay? You go home and talk about it with your mom and dad, and maybe in the morning you'll figure it all out a bit more. That sounds like a good plan, Mr. Tushman, said Mom, nodding. Thank you. Everything's going to be okay, said Mr. Tushman, walking out the door, which was closed. I know you're a nice kid, Jack, and I know that sometimes even nice kids do dumb things, right? He opened the door. Thank you for being so understanding, said Mom, shaking his hand at the door. No problem. He leaned over and told her something quietly that I couldn't hear. I know. Thank you, said Mom, nodding. So, kiddo, he said to me, putting his hands on my shoulders, think about what you've done, okay? And have a great holiday. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. I wiped my nose with my sleeve and started walking out the door. Say thank you to Mr. Tushman, said Mom, tapping my shoulder. I stopped and turned around, but I couldn't look at him. Thank you, Mr. Tushman, I said. Bye, Jack, he answered. Then I walked out the door. Season's greetings. Weirdly enough, when we got back home and Mom brought in the mail, there were holiday cards from both Julian's family and August's family. Julian's holiday card was a picture of Julian wearing a tie, looking like he was about to go to the opera or something. August's holiday card was a cute old dog wearing reindeer antlers, a red nose, and red booties. There was a cartoon bubble above the dog's head that read, Ho, ho, ho. On the inside of the card it read, To the Will family, peace on earth, love Nate, Isabel, Olivia, August, and Daisy. Cute card, huh? I said to Mom, who had hardly said a word to me all the way home. I think she honestly didn't know what to say. This must be their dog, I said. Do you want to tell me what's going on inside your head, Jack? She answered me seriously. I bet you they put a picture of their dog on every card they send. She took the card from my hands and looked at the picture carefully. Then she raised her eyebrows and her shoulders and gave me back the card. "We're very lucky, Jack. There's so much we take for granted." "I know," I said. I knew what she was talking about without her having to say it. "I heard that Julian's mom actually photoshopped August's face out of the class picture when she got it. She gave a copy to a couple of the other moms." "That's just awful," said Mom. "People are just, well, they're not always so great." "I know." "Is that why you hit Julian?" "No." And then I told her why I punched Julian. And I told her that August was my ex-friend now. And I told her about Halloween. The next time we read, we're going to go through a series of letters and emails and Facebook messages and texts between everybody involved in this situation, and just hear how they start to resolve and get through all of this complicated mess of a situation that started when Jack decided to let his anger grow inside him instead of dealing with it. Remember when I mentioned a scripture the other day that says, "Be angry and sin not." It's not the anger that we have to watch for. It's letting the anger stay and grow and cause us to do something that we'll regret or have to say I'm sorry for later. So since Jack didn't deal with the anger and he let it grow and grow and grow inside him, it caused him to do something wrong and it caused him to sin. And now he has a consequence for it. He's trying to do the right thing, but this time he let his anger get in the way instead of using his words to work it out. He hit Julian and he got in trouble for it. So next time we read together, we'll talk about how they all start to work all that out. Thanks for joining me today for Dear Time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.